So like the left side has been lying about Charlie Kirk, Kirk's kill on shit, saying that he's a Republican and all of that. So
James and Rita, this is extraordinary. We now hear that the killer, the shooter, the alleged shooter, was in a relationship. His lover was a transgender individual.
Yeah, we've heard a lot about that, but I don't know, is that real? Or
transitioning from male to female. That's the latest news. And this was the same individual that texts were sent to his so-called roommate regarding the rifle and casings. Rita Panahi.
Yes, Tyler Robinson's partner is cooperating with the FBI. He's been helpful, is what's been reported. And, yeah, he is trans. It's just another development. It adds an extra layer to what could have motivated this guy. But this guy...
I can't see him being a far-right person, right? It's just like things doesn't add up. Number one, he's with a trans person. The things he wrote on the bullets, you know, and killing Charlie Kirk, which doesn't really make sense if he's far right, because Charlie Kirk is, I wouldn't say he was far right, but he was on the right side of politics. So it doesn't add up for him to be.
If he is the culprit and
far right,
authorities are very confident they have their man, he's told us why he's done this. There's a lot of conjecture that the left is bending over backwards, trying to cast some doubt about whether this was a politically motivated assassination, when there is zero doubt, because the killer told us why he did it. He hasn't been shy about saying why he did it. And if we don't accept reality, if we don't face up to the truth, we're not going to get past this point. And worse than trying to cast doubt about what motivated this killing are those dishonest actors. Sometimes they're just dishonest, sometimes they're stupid. I really don't care which one's which, but they lied. They have fabricated pictures of the...
Yeah, like the AI picture where he has like this Trump t-shirt on and shit. Like, I don't understand. They're like, oh no, he's part of our side. What do we have to do? We have to just make up lies. We just it was you all along. You guys are the bad people. Yeah, that's how it is. Yes, of course, yeah.
Suspect in a Trump shirt.
Because they can't be like, oh, okay, our sides have some flaws to it. Okay, so we have to like put the guilt on you.
They've tried to cast him as some sort of MAGA individual, a Republican, just because his family happened to be church-going, religious conservatives. This guy is the black sheep of the family. The family have said, you know, he's been off the left. And I think it just shows, James, that just growing up in a conservative, religious family doesn't necessarily immunise you or protect you from this poisonous doctrine.
And I mean, look, Rita, everybody out there, everybody on the stage.
Yeah, and again, like they said that he became more political after he moved to college, and you know, in a lot of like American colleges, there's a lot of Democrats and leftists.
Families are complicated. You have different people come from the same parents and the same environment, and just different things sort of wind up happening to them over the course of life. And that is just life. But the gaslighting, the unbelievable gaslighting that we have had, and I see this coming from all quarters of the left. It's not just the ones who are celebrating gleefully his death. And I'm going to be talking a bit later in the program about people who've been losing their jobs as a result of this, and why that's actually not a bad thing. But this idea that, oh, well, and you see these posts, I see them all the time. He was a conservative. He was brought up a Mormon. He grew up in Utah. His parents were cops. This, that, the other thing. You know, to suggest that, well, every single one of these things says, except that, you know, even The Guardian. So when you read it in The Guardian, and they're telling the truth about it, you know this is the truth. They said, they talked to people who were friends of the family. They said he was incredibly radicalized. They said that a few years ago he really started to, and I think, well, you know, we need to talk about universities and just what's happening on our university campuses right now, that people get so radicalized on them. But that he talked about Charlie Kirk, he talked about the right, he talked about fascism, he talked about trans stuff. Now we know why there's an angle on the transgender side there, because, of course, if he'd had this relationship. But it is anything, they will do anything they can to prevent themselves owning the fact. And I'll tell you, we got to be careful, because I'm not somebody who's...
Because this is almost like every ideology, but they go around knowing that they are the right people, and they have the right ideas, and there can't then be any problems with it. It's basically every ideology. If you're a communist, if you're a Nazi, just everything. They believe that they are right, and that's just how it is.
It subscribes to the words equals violence thing. That's the left thing. But these are the same people who have been pumping everybody through this message that Donald Trump is a fascist. People like Charlie Kirk are fascists. They are an imminent threat to democracy, the democratic way of life, the American republic, freedom, liberty, all of these things.
Well, when you say...
And when they do that, that creates the existential threat, that creates a circumstance where this happens.
I don't think we have to be shy about saying that at all. There's clear incitement for this crime. Yeah. There's clear incitement for the assassination attempt against Donald Trump. There's clear incitement when you say words of violence, you rationalise responding with violence. When you call someone a fascist, when you call someone hateful, when you falsely malign them as all sorts of things and assign to them all sorts of beliefs they don't even have, then you are giving some deranged individual a license to do exactly what happened. Now, Charlie Kirk, he's been painted as this, radical, hard right figure. His opinions are so mainstream in the conservative movement, mainstream in the community. He is not some
Yeah, like he isn't super far, right? He has a lot of conservative meanings, but like the thing is that it take just what it said out of context, just the clips, just purely out of context. Where, for example, empathy, like they go around, he didn't believe in empathy, right? You shouldn't feel sorry for anybody, right? That's what they're trying to say, but if you just see like the whole quote, it's like, I don't like the word empathy because you can't feel another person's pain. But he would rather choose sympathy because you can feel bad for somebody else. But they're no, we're just gonna take one small quote and just run with that to make him seem worse. And it's kind of disgusting to actually see how people are twisting and lying just because they don't want to, because they want to feel like the good guys. Like, that shit's fucked up. And people believe it. People go around believing this shit. When people often be like, who was Charlie Kirk? And then they go on the internet and then they just see a lot of like clips out of context and people going around saying that he's a far right extremist and stuff like that. It's just mind blowing, and people are like, oh, so this was the person that got killed. Maybe it wasn't that bad. And it just blows my mind how you can like. In the social media, they don't do anything about it. They're like, okay, this gives likes and keeps people watching, so we're just gonna let it slide.
Radical firebrand. And I've heard quite a few quotes of his, again, weaponized to try to justify the way the left is reacting.
Yeah, they're just taking things out of context. Like again, the black pilot thing. He would be scared if there was a black pilot, and he's like, oh my god, he's such a racist. But the main thing is that you have like DEI, where you just hire people because of diversity. So you can just have a person that isn't really for the job, but they hire him just be like, oh look, we have people of color in our we have like colored pilots. Wow, look at this. Even though he maybe not he wasn't really educated, he wasn't really like a good pilot, but they just hired him just because they need a person with color. And that's what was Jesus. That's what Charlie Kirk tried to say, is that you have people hiring people just because of their ethnicity instead of what they actually can do. And what may end up happening is that you hire a person that can't fly a plane just because it's a woman, or a person of color. And that's stupid. And it's not necessarily racist in the way that, oh my god, a black pilot, Jesus, I can't because he's black. It's because it could be a possibility that he was hired because of his skin tone instead of how good he was at flying.
To this, the ugliness, just the callousness of which the way so many are responding. Things like there's a quote going around, you know, I don't like empathy. People have thrown that around. I hate the word empathy. If you look at the whole quote, he's talking about he prefers the word sympathy because empathy denotes that you feel what someone else is feeling. So you see someone who's hurt and you're also hurting, while sympathy is a far more genuine... So it was a semantic argument that has now been
weaponized against it.
This is what they do all the time. They take things out of context. But Rita, your point about you know, the transgender, the incitement and so on, what was fascinating and tragic about the death is that...
Yeah, and like every side kind of does this, like you're just trying to twist the truth to make it better for your views, you know. But after Charlie Cox died, the left has just gone bad shit insane.
Charlie Kirk never condemned anybody for being transgender. He never attacked anybody. He never questioned that choice other than to say maybe there's an alternative, and maybe through debate and discussion with other people, with experts, you might find a way to actually arrive at being comfortable in your own body. Now, what is fascinating is that his slogan, "Prove me wrong," the only way this alleged killer could prove him wrong, the alleged killer in a relationship with a man transitioning to a woman, the only way he could prove him wrong was to shoot him. Well, and that just is so tragic, but so it shows you the depth of depravity of the ideology, which you mentioned. I'll be talking about it later in the show. The university left wing, these factories of toxic poison, they may well be at the root of the problem here as well, because a young kid who seemed a shy but perfectly nice kid goes off to college, and suddenly...
But hang on, we need to talk about another point.
We have a killer. We
need to talk about another point here, too, because one of the most toxic, most evil lines that we keep hearing, too, you know, you want to talk about things where they take something he said out of context.
Yes.
Right? The number one thing that they've been taking out of context is this whole idea that, you know, Charlie Kirk supported the Second Amendment, which is the right to bear arms.
Yeah, like, that's stupid. Like, oh, he was for his own death. He's like, we need to have a couple of killings to be able to bear arms, and I think that, you know, you shouldn't be able to bear as many guns as you can in the US. But that's like, you have people dying in traffic accidents all the time. But just because somebody dies in a traffic accident doesn't mean we're just gonna cancel all the cars, just get rid of them. It just means that we have cars and people will die from it, and that's bad, but we should prevent it at all costs. And the best thing would be if there were none. So when he's like, oh, we have the right to bear arms, and because of this a couple of people will die here and there, doesn't justify killing people. He was very against killing people, but he didn't mean that, oh, it's okay that somebody dies as long as we are able to have guns. It's basically the same thing as cars, you know. You don't cancel it because some people die.
And said that...
But again, I think the gun laws in America is pretty stupid. And before you're like, oh, all right, he's like, I'm not on the left or right side, especially when it comes to America, because I'm not American. So if you're like, he's on this side, of course he will say this and that. I'm trying to look at it like objectively.
You have the Second Amendment. There will be...
And see like what both sides are doing.
Some deaths because of that, but it is worth it to preserve liberty. Yeah. And he had a much bigger explanation around that, and including...
But they just take it out of context. And they're like, oh no, of course he means that we should kill people.
Saying things like, you know, I think he made the argument that, well, we could ban all cars tomorrow, but we have the right to drive. Yes. And you would have no road toll, but there you are. You know, and so you have all of these incredible videos, and I played a bunch on my show Friday, and we'll see some more.
And it becomes like kind of domino effect when it comes to guns, because you have so many guns in America that it's like if you ban them, a lot of people are still gonna have guns, but so then you need a gun to protect yourself, and it just becomes in like an evil loop.
Later on, I'm sure, of people saying, ha ha, well, you believe the Second Amendment, how ironic, you got shot. This gets...
But again, this is, I don't understand, they're like against guns and gun violence. But when somebody kills, that's like when Charlie Kirk dies, they're like, yeah, you are for gun violence, yeah, let's see you. Like, if they were really against gun violence, they wouldn't. They would be like, what the fuck? You can't shoot people.
To the heart of the violence, the dark nihilistic violence at the heart of the left. Because what are they saying there? They're saying to people, they're saying, if you don't take away the left's guns, the left might be forced to shoot you. I mean, it is an admission of their own violence.
And it's also
Yeah.
admission that what we are seeing at the moment, that it is the left who have got an issue with this. This both sides nonsense, I have zero time for it. The fact that towns across America aren't burning down, the fact that shops aren't being boarded up, the fact that there aren't people...
Yeah, that's like another thing. When George Floyd died, people went out, you know, robbing and burning shit and destroying, and shit was like out of control. But when Charlie Kirk died, you just have like some peaceful protests. I think that in England had like, it wasn't super aggressive, but you know, I think somebody got hurt and shit. But it's a lot more peaceful than when the lefts go out and riot.
People rioting, looting, like BLM did, like Antifa did, despite this horror, tells you everything. The people who've got all the guns in America, which is predominantly the right, aren't using them to exact revenge. They're not the ones who they're worried about. When they board up shops during election campaigns, guess what? They take them down as soon as a Democrats win an election because they know the danger's past. If a Republican wins, then they expect to see shop windows smashed. So this is the reality. The left has a violence problem.
And the problem with people celebrating Charlie Kirk's death and shit is that I think a lot of people from the left have gone over to the right, because people from the right would probably not move over when Charlie Kirk died and they are celebrating. But you have a good amount of left people that are like, damn, I can't be involved with this side, just looking how horrible these people are and have been after his death. So I'm gonna switch sides.
It's been normalised.
So I think if you look at that, I think maybe I think the Republicans may win the next election as well. And we'll just have to see if Donald Trump is able to get rid of the 2 terms thingy, so he can stay for longer, or what's going to happen. But what may happen, I know, I was thinking of Obama. He may be popular, but I don't think he will go again because he's pretty old now.
Been accepted. The media has a lot of complicity in minimising that violence, trying to confuse
to both sides, to gaslight it.
Exactly.
When it's not a both sides thing. And I've heard a lot last couple of days. Well, what about Governor Shapiro in Pennsylvania? What about the attack against him? That was from a leftist. What about the attack against some other Democrat politician? Again, from leftists. So you've got left-on-left violence. You can't blame...
The other key thing, there's another key thing. Sorry, there's one other key thing.
Got to mention the number of shooters, which was exactly the point that Charlie Kirk was talking about when he got shot. I mean, this thing is so replete with ironies and tragedies, but he was discussing the issue of the trans killers and mass killers in America, and the fact that they do seem to be fueled, however it works out, by this ideology, by this transgender ideology. The shooter waited until that moment when he was asked about the number, because there's been a number of trans-identified individuals who have shot up
including
Christian
that
schools.
church in Minnesota 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Catholic, 2 small children killed, others shot. And he was asked about that, and he
A lot of people are like, oh, but why aren't people speaking against other people getting killed? You have had like a school shooting the same day, I think. And the main reason is because he was a celebrity of some sort, kind, like people knew who Charlie Kirk was, and just because of that, he will get more attention to him. It's like if a singer dies or whatever, if it's a popular person, they will have more media coverage. But the biggest thing is how the other side reacts to it, because when you have a school shooting, nobody's like, yay. When you have some people getting killed, just out of nowhere, nobody's celebrating it. But when Charlie Kirk died, people are celebrating it, and that's why I think it's become so big.
started to answer it, and that's when that shot fired. And it was just, it took some time for them to announce that he had passed away. But if you saw a close up of what happened, you knew.
It was horrific.
No person
I
could
want to
survive
talk
that.
about those reactions and those responses, and I want to start off just by playing a little clip. This infuriates me, this endless repetition of, oh, he was a far right winger, extreme, as far, which the left use all the time. This is the ABC in Australia, how they announce the news. Have a listen.
He was a conservative influencer who campaigned for gun rights.
That's correct.
Now, the American right-wing commentator Charlie Kirk has been shot and killed in what's been described as a political assassination.
So there you have it, James. All accused, far-right guns, exactly what you were talking about.
Disgusting. Disgusting.
Yeah, again, it's kind of like that's the first thing you have to say when you're like, this guy gets killed, but he was for guns, he was far right, he was like. That's like the first thing you have to mention when you're talking about it.
It's so far removed from the real man.
It's removed from the real man, and I'll tell you, none of the people here on the ABC or any of the other people we're going to see here today spent any time listening to what Charlie Kirk had to say. They had no idea what his whole thing, which was about free speech and Socratic dialogue, which are two things that the left hates, because the left's argument techniques are shut up or we'll smash your store window.
Shut up or we'll shoot you.
Yeah, a lot of the times it's like, oh shit, they don't have anything to say, so they just call you a Nazi or a fascist or just whatever. They just shit talk you, and I know, like, no, you're a Nazi, so we can't just, like, everything you say is just, it doesn't really matter because you're a bad person. Wow, that's just how they.
Yeah,
that's just how they argue. So when you have somebody like Charlie Kirk and comes down and actually have discussion, shit goes to pieces.
Will shoot you. That's their technique, and it reminds me so much. Also, like when Kim McWilliams, the managing director of the ABC, had that whole line about ABC, about Joe Rogan when he was giving the press club speech. It was clear he'd never listened to a minute of the man. But it's this sort of thing here.
Exactly. But I want to ask Rita about one of our politicians here.
Like the only thing they know about often like these news people is the things they've seen on the internet, which is things taken out of context and often lies and shit.
Called independent environmentalist.
So it may be hard to blame them because, again, this is what you see of a person, and then you think the person is like this.
Zali Steggall at a beautiful electorate on Sydney's beaches. What happened there? She seemed to be quite like some of the controversial posts about Charlie Kirk's death.
Yes, she did. She liked one by a leftist influencer that has been deleted. This is how bad this post was. Even this far leftist, what's her name, Hannah Ferguson, she deleted it, but not before Zali Steggall liked it. And it was a post that was seeking to rationalise this assassination, saying that, sometimes violence is necessary. Does this murder advance the leftist?
But, like, where do you want to go? Do you just want to kill everybody that disagrees with you? And if you think that's okay, shouldn't the opposite side also do that? So should everybody on the right just kill everybody on the left they disagree with, and then everybody on the left kill everybody on the right they disagree with? Like, where does it stop?
agenda? No, it doesn't. But, I can understand why people... It was an absolutely despicable, morally bankrupt post. The ideas in it...
And the craziest thing is how many people there are that celebrates and agrees with the killing of Charlie Kirk. Like, you've just gone on some TikTok or Instagram, and you see somebody making fun of his death, and you have like 800,000 likes, and you're like, what? How? This isn't like a couple of people, like a couple of thousands that like looks very, very big, There's millions of people celebrating it, and that's just insane.
I think, you know what? I actually don't mind seeing stuff like this because I think sunlight is the best disinfectant.
Yeah, we know what
and
they're
when people show you who they are, you believe them. And when people go and share this disgusting content, when they like it, Zali Steggall needs to explain this. Zali Steggall needs to explain why she endorsed this post. If it wasn't her, if it was a staff member, what is she doing about it? She hasn't answered any questions. We've gone to her office and she has refused to provide any sort of explanation. And Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said people who indulge in this sort of disgusting antics in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's murder, they're not welcome in the US. So we might have some very high-profile individuals who will not be allowed into the US. And I can say there won't be too many Americans who will be upset about that. I mean, sure, there will be some on the left, but I think most Americans don't want people who can sit there and try to rationalise a brutal murder, a man being...
But again, it's so many, it feels like. It's not like, again, it's not a couple of the far left people that agrees with it. You have so many people agreeing with it, and then it seems like the news kind of agrees with it as well. Of course, they don't say it, but it's like looks like they do. Where do we go from here?
Shot and killed in front of his family because he was having a debate. Why would you want those sorts of people in your country?
And let's make the point, James, that Zali Steggall replaced former Prime Minister Tony Abbott in his electorate. So this is a wealthy Sydney electorate. Her entire campaign, her entire political position is climate change and we've got to save the planet and all this and look after the kids and so on. But here we have liking the argument that violence is acceptable in a political format. I would
think, and this is the thing that's so ironic to me here, because, I've seen lots of politicians in the US and plenty here too, and plenty of public figures now say, geez, whatever our side is now, do we need to worry more about security? So the idea that you're a politician of any stripe, I don't care whether you're right or left or as she is, a teal, the idea that you would in any way be seen to be countenancing any sort of argument that says, well, maybe this one time a little bit of political violence is okay.
Because they never think it applies to them, James. This is why the left play these games, because they know it's a one-side battle.
Yeah.
They're not scared. When you're a leftist, no matter how far-left, radical, nutbag you are, you can go to any university campus in this country or America and you will not fear giving a speech. You will not fear being shot,
You do have some bad people on the far right as well, right? You have some very bad people, because you have fascists and you have Nazis on the far right. You do. It's not the one-sided thing, and I don't think that's I think a lot of left people are also afraid, and maybe they should be if they're, because you have crazy people on both sides. But the most surprising thing is how you have so many people on the left that agrees with it, compared to a lot of the times when somebody on the far right does something horrible. People don't celebrate it. They're like, damn, it was a bad apple. We are not like this. This shouldn't have happened. But on the left side, they are celebrating it, and Doesn't add up.
Bombarded with abuse, being chased off campus, having those who come to hear you be violently attacked. You don't have that. You don't have that fear as a leftist. Just look at what's happening in our own country, never mind America. It is a one-sided fight. So,
Yes.
yeah, I'm not surprised we've got leftist politicians indulging in this sort of moral decay because it doesn't apply to them. She will not fear that. And now we've got
she won't. No, I'm sorry.
And I'm not saying she should fear it.
I'm not saying she should fear it either. But you see, history is a funny thing, right? History is a really funny thing. And there have been plenty of examples in history when people have thought, oh, no, I'm off with the good guys on the left here, and they're going to send their violence somewhere else. And I tell you what, eventually you wind up to the right of the people who got the guns, and then you are in strife. And this, I'm not saying that's going to. I'm not saying that's going to happen in Australia.
Yeah.
Pray it doesn't happen in Australia. But the point is that once you start to normalize, it's this whole normalization of political violence.
I want to carry on it. Okay.
Go on with this here for a second, because there's also this other sort of move, and it's, again, intellectually bankrupt. And we need to talk about these sorts of intellectually bankrupt defenses for this murder, and where they're trying to minimize this into kind of just the background noise of life. Oh, well, somebody got shot. Babies are dying in Gaza. Somebody starved here, this sort of thing. And how can you be mad about Charlie Kirk when all of these other things that we on the left are concerned about are happening? What that is doing, it is a conscious effort to minimize the horror of what happened so that it can happen again.
Yeah.
This is what is...
They're like, oh no, it's not a big deal because he was wrong.
Being set up here. It is sinister. It is evil. The surface has been scratched. We see what's underneath it. There.
Yes, so like the left has gone batshit insane, and you see this guy, he would appreciate the like and shit. So that was it. Bye.